Greetings, friends. Today we will discuss mathematical strategies, a subject I know many of you are eager to learn. As we discuss this topic today, we will also jump into a live table to practically observe and learn how these concepts work. So, before I delve into this, let me remind you of this crucial point. Whether there are newcomers joining this space, those completely new to this subject, or even our veteran members. Regardless of who you are, if you are someone who solely relies on the concept of luck, I am telling you there is no need to even watch this video. If you are planning to enter this field, you must make a firm decision. Instead of relying on luck, if you truly believe in yourself and have absolute trust in your knowledge, if you are that kind of person, then keep watching. For those who cling to illusions like luck and destiny, believing that destiny or luck dictates everything, there is absolutely no point in watching this content. Their chances of achieving success in this field are extremely low because any wins will be purely temporary. Therefore, only pursue this if you can trust yourself and rely strictly on your analytical knowledge. With all this being said, no matter how much you believe in yourself, do not blindly follow someone else's opinion just because they said it. If you are confident in your logic, stay true to that. I have seen some people advising others not to do this, telling them to do trading, claiming trading won't cause issues, or advising them to do freelancing instead. I am not saying those fields are bad, they are perfectly fine. But what I am saying is, if this is your passion, if you prefer mastering this over those other fields, then do this. I am not sharing this knowledge to make you addicted. If my goal was to addict you, I could easily play all the time and upload videos constantly. I could upload my wins, and if there were a loss, I could upload that too. I could endlessly upload only the winning sessions. It is entirely possible to do so. But regardless of how I upload my sessions, you know I have never posted videos showing me making hundreds of thousands in profit. I don't chase those massive amounts daily either. I strictly maintain a 10% profit margin. I execute my strategy systematically. If I wanted to addict you, I wouldn't operate this way. I am simply telling you to pursue what you are passionate about in life. As I have mentioned before, as long as it is not illegal, there is no issue. Do not engage in illegal activities just because you like them. If it is legal, there is no problem. Do not base your actions solely on what others say, and do not operate based on the opinions of the masses. It is not other people who are going to build your future for you. Therefore, make your own decisions. However, never build your foundation on luck. There is no such thing as luck, my friend. Always remember that. All right, let's move forward. I will demonstrate this to you. If you are learning about mathematics, or whatever system you use, remember that while studying this subject, you must at least master its fundamental basics. Merely learning that there are red, black, and green sectors is useless. How many green numbers are there? How many? Just one. In the European wheel, there is only one. Then, how many black numbers are there? What are they? How many red numbers are there? What are they? Next, where exactly are they positioned on the wheel? If I say number 32, what number is exactly next to it? What is on the right side of 32? What is on the left side? Those variables should instantly register in your mind without even having to look at the board. You must learn these fundamentals first. Memorize the exact numerical sequence as it appears on the wheel layout. The numerical grid itself isn't the complex part. After that, master the color distributions. At least do this much. You absolutely cannot advance further without them. I am talking about the simplest, most fundamental data points here. Right, I have previously demonstrated live gameplay using mathematical logic. At this point, I must emphasize, friends, that there is no single holy grail method. There are multiple strategies. Mathematics in this context is a highly complex matrix. However, within that complexity, you don't need to overload your brain by memorizing every single variable. Just focus strictly on what you need and what you are capable of processing. You will receive analytical triggers based on what you have mastered. Execute your trades exactly at those moments, not blindly all the time. By observing the wheel, you can formulate your strategy to execute trades exactly when your required optimal conditions are met. So, let's observe a few such patterns and see what variables are present. Then, you can absorb either what I am teaching you or mentally map out a few distinct variations that come to your mind. The fundamental problem you face, and this is what you must fix, is that your biggest mistake is trying to memorize every single variable simultaneously. If you attempt to process everything at once, you will fail to execute anything correctly. Focus only on what you can manage. Execute only what you are capable of in that specific moment. Do not clutter your mind with unnecessary data. All right, let's take this example. Right, I am now going to discuss the concepts related to the dropping sequence of the numbers. If we look at the sequence 7 and 29, you can see, friend, that these numbers are located right next to each other on the wheel register, right? However, I am not going to dive deep into how to extract a betting trigger from the 7 and 29 sequence right now. The reason is that I cannot currently see the previous numbers that dropped in the history before this sequence. I can only see the numbers presented here, right? A similar mathematical connection might have occurred prior to this sequence. I have reminded you before that the probability of past sequences repeating is exceptionally high. However, you cannot assume that the sequence will repeat in the exact same manner. I have explained this to you. It is not enough to solely learn mathematics. You must absolutely incorporate the laws of physics into your logical framework. I have clearly explained to you that this environment operates on a combination of physics and mathematical logic. You must be capable of understanding that correlation. That is exactly why I have uploaded previous videos regarding Newton's laws of motion, explaining how we integrate them into roulette analysis. Right? I have explained all of that. Okay, right? Let's move a bit forward and analyze this. As we proceed, if we look here, we have 5 and 32. Now, if we take these two numbers, 5 and 32, my friend, to an average player, these are merely two random numbers. They might just think, there is a 5 here and a 32 there. At most, they might say that since 5 dropped, this is an opposite reaction, catching a number on the complete opposite side of the wheel. They might say that, but in this field, you must not be an average player. You must be an extraordinary analyst. You simply cannot win at this by playing like a casual gambler. So, if I saw 5 and 32 here, my immediate deduction would be, 5 dropped, then 32 dropped. This means a number adjacent to 5 has dropped again. That specific thought immediately registers in my mind. Now, let me explain that to you. Why is that? Look closely, my friend. 32 is indeed a neighboring number to 5. How did that happen? I have previously educated you regarding a specific set of 6 numbers. What are those 6 numbers? The first number is 6, then 12, 13, next is 16, followed by 23 and 26. You know that these 6 numbers have mathematical correlations. In simpler terms, if we invert these numbers, what do they become? If we invert 6, it becomes 9. Therefore, 6 and 9 are mathematically matched. If we invert 12, it becomes 21. 21 correlates to 12. Similarly, 13 becomes 31. 16 becomes 19. 23 becomes 32. And 26 becomes 29. Right? Look closely here. You are viewing this 32 as an average player would. But if you perceive this as 23, you become an advanced analyst. Watch this carefully. Here, 23 is situated closest to 5. When I say closest, I don't mean it's the direct neighboring number, but rather 23 is in extreme proximity to 5's sector. Right? I will tell you the exact analytical idea I derive the moment I see this. When a sequence like 5 and 23 occurs, my hypothesis is that a similar correlation has a high probability of repeating. To simplify that event, if you assume that the mathematical logic of 5 and 23 played out here, you can anticipate that when a similar correlation repeats, it will likely involve 2 neighboring numbers. However, my friend, there is a catch. The real question is whether that event will occur exactly as you anticipate. That is precisely why you need to study this. The moment 5 and 32 drop, you might blindly bet on numbers next to 32, such as 19 and 26. Or you might bet next to 23, targeting 30 and 5. Blindly executing trades on every dropping number like that will not work. It can manifest in a completely different variation. Let's assume 5 and 32 drop, and we spot that trigger. Next, you observe 32 here. So you think, since we previously linked it to 23, you will only execute variables related to 23. Let's assume you also played variables related to 32. Then, let's assume 34 drops. If 34 drops, that's a gap of 2 from 32. The gap here is also 2. Therefore, 32 and 34 mathematically correlate. However, that correlation is not on the racetrack. It's based on the numerical grid layout, isn't it? It can manifest in such varied forms. Because once you identify a hidden pattern, the probability is that after a hidden pattern occurs, a simple pattern is highly likely to follow immediately. Here, it manifested as a hidden pattern. It came disguised, making it difficult for you to spot. Look closely, friend. When we look at the next numbers, let's just focus on the hidden pattern here. At this point, I will refrain from analyzing these previous numbers. There might be a mathematical match within them, but I will not look for it. This is because there is an analytical expectation that a hidden pattern will be followed by a simple pattern. So, after 5 and 32 drop here, I deduce that since I have identified the hidden variable, I will now execute a trade on a simple pattern related to this 32. A simple pattern, meaning it is not hidden. I will treat this 32 strictly as 32, without inverting it to 23. So, what do I execute my trade on? Do I take it from both the number grid and the wheel? No, I won't. Why? Since the previous correlation occurred on the wheel layout, I mathematically trust that the next simple pattern will also originate from the wheel layout. Therefore, keeping 32 in mind, even though I theoretically considered 23 here, I will now focus on the actual 32. What are the variables related to 32? So, I will execute a trade strictly on 19 and 26 here. What drops? 4. I lose that trade. Now, the next trade is based on 4. So, what do I bet on? 2 and 15. 34 drops. I lose that one too. That is 2 consecutive losses. Then, when executing based on 34, I bet on 27 and 25 here. 7 drops. That's a loss too. 3 losses. I bet on 18 and 12. I lose. 11 drops. When executing based on 11, let's see what happens next. 29 has dropped, so we face a loss there too, right? After that, 29 and then 13 drops. Look right here. Now here, regarding 29, the number 13 drops. Let's analyze based on this 13. See, when 13 drops, what do you bet on? 6 and 11, right? By executing a trade on 6 and 11, those two numbers, here comes a win. It's just 2 numbers, my friend. You are only betting on 2 numbers. Because it's only 2 numbers, even if it takes 10 attempts, it's mathematically not an issue. If you incur a loss, it will be a minimal amount, right? It's just 2 numbers. However, you don't need to endure a long sequence to secure that win here. This event, this hidden pattern, manifested here in a completely unhidden, highly visible and minimal manner. I believe that is clear. So, what is the core analytical idea you should extract from what I just explained regarding this sequence? That is, you must analyze the spin history within this matrix and identify the triggers of hidden variables. If you identify a hidden trigger, your subsequent trades should focus purely on a simple pattern. Is that clear, friend? Understand that logic. Right. That is the fundamental principle. Everything operates on hidden algorithms within this matrix. The fantasy outcome you expect will not happen every time. Always remember that. Let's move on. We discussed mathematical logic. The concept here is clear. The key analytical takeaway I am giving you here, friend, is to identify the trigger points of hidden variables. Search for those hidden trigger points. Right. Let's proceed a bit further into this. I will demonstrate one more concept to you. just one more. After that, we will conclude this session. Now, we analyzed this. We discussed this point. We discussed this point too. Let's move forward. 15 has dropped, and 0 has dropped, right? Now, I want you to observe how, within this hidden pattern, the sequence continues right up to this point. Because this is exactly what has happened next. Once you decode this hidden pattern, the exact same logic that occurred here repeats here as well. This 15 and 0. This operates on the exact same logic. Did you see that? That is the core logic, friend. So, learn to identify hidden variables as much as possible, instead of always relying on the obvious. Right. Let's proceed and analyze. 30 and 33 have dropped. 8. I can demonstrate even more variables to you here. Right? If you study this over time, you will be able to spot this too. I will demonstrate this to you. Observe how elegantly this mathematical sequence has played out. Right, friend. Now look here. If you subtract 30 from 33, what is it? 3. The numerical gap is 3, right? The gap is 3. If you mathematically correlate that 3 with this 8, friend, the sum is exactly 11. So, think about this, friend. After extracting 11 and the 8 located here, since adding this 3 to this 8 equals 11, if we assign a mathematical value to 11 and this 8, 11 and 8 operate on the exact same mathematical logic, as you can see. Is that clear? So, that is what I am emphasizing. This matrix does not operate the way you assume. Stop playing blindly and make a serious effort to learn the underlying variables of this system. Master at least a few of these variables, friend. That is the most valuable asset you can have here. Right? Let me tell you what. Let's jump into a live table. This is sufficient for the theory. Because if I try to demonstrate too many variables at once, your mind will become cluttered. Within what I taught you today, there is no confusion in this method. Focus on finding these hidden variables exactly as I instructed. Keep searching for more correlations. There is an infinite number of variables to discover. You can formulate your own strategies. There is so much more hidden within this matrix to decode. You understand the core analytical idea I conveyed, right? If you successfully identify the correct trigger point, securing a win is not a difficult task at all, right? However, strictly remain within your limits. If your strategy dictates betting on only 2 numbers, stick strictly to that limit. Because when you lock on to these points, even if you don't win immediately, the mathematical probability of a win occurring in the subsequent steps is virtually guaranteed. You will not experience continuous, unending losses. That is precisely why I tell you to maintain strict boundaries. Even if you maintain those boundaries, let's say you formulate a system where you execute 5 trades based on a trigger. Imagine you create a system where you say, if this specific sequence occurs, if this number drops, I will bet on these 10 numbers for exactly 5 spins. You cannot simply say, I'll bet 5 times, lose those 5, and then at the next trigger I'll lose another 5, and expect your unproven method to continue working. You could face a prolonged losing streak with a flawed system. But when you execute trades based strictly on physics and mathematics, you will not encounter that issue. You will never suffer continuous, unpredictable losing streaks. Understood? Therefore, your capital is always safe. Understand that deeply, friend. Right? Once you operate with strict limits, you are secure. All right, let's jump into a live table, analyze one specific scenario, and then we will conclude the video to prevent it from becoming too long. Right? Let's go. Yeah, let's move. Alternatively, since we always analyze pragmatic play wheels, let's switch it up and go to an evolution wheel today. Do not worry about the specific table or the provider. Whether it's evolution or anything else, the provider is irrelevant. The only thing that matters is mastering this mathematical system, right? Let's go to evolution. Let me reduce the sound. Right. Let's briefly analyze the history. We will take the last 50 numbers. Right. I will scan the history for a moment. We have a 34 and a 19 here. Let's observe. We will analyze based on the newly dropping numbers. 28 dropped last. Number 20 just dropped. Right. Now, I will demonstrate a sequence to you right here, very similar to the mathematical logic we just discussed. However, this specific sequence plays out exactly as I explained earlier, but not on the wheel layout. It occurs within the numerical grid. Right? Look closely. I will show you. If you had identified this, it's a point where you could have easily secured a win. Right? Look very closely here, friend. There is a hidden pattern right here. This 31 and 15. If we analyze the numerical grid, you can see that 13 and 15 operate with a gap of 1. So look here at this 31. I told you earlier that you must instantly recognize the correlation between 13 and 31, right? Therefore, when you observe 31 and 15, friend, the mathematical gap is clear, isn't it? Only 14 falls in between. That is, after we invert this 31 into a 13, right? Correct. If you identify this sequence, your next immediate action, as I explained, after spotting a hidden pattern like this, you subsequently execute a trade on a simple pattern. Meaning, what relates to 15? 13. Since we are analyzing based on the grid layout, the targets are 13 and 17. You lose, as 29 drops. Then here, your targets would be 31 and 27. You lose again. At 29, as we said, the targets were 31 and 27. You lose that, and 8 drops. At 8, your targets are 10 and 6. What number drops next? 10. Did you notice earlier when I showed you the history how a hidden pattern like this repeated continuously in close proximity? I explained that beautiful sequence clearly. Now look here. Not only do we secure a win here, but the very next sequence operates on the exact same logic. This 10 and 12. Isn't that the same mathematical correlation? Is that clear? So, if you accurately identify these hidden triggers, your probability of securing future wins is extremely high. However, just because you secured a win here and here, do not blindly continue trading on every spin. Everything must have a limit. If your strategy uses 2 numbers, then execute only 10 trades for those two numbers. If you hit your stop-loss limit, cease trading entirely. Wait patiently until another hidden pattern emerges, and only then execute your strategy. You must maintain that level of discipline. But if you have this mindset that you must exit within 10 minutes, or else the casino algorithm will intentionally make you lose. If you are someone who harbors such flawed assumptions in your mind, like the casino using magnets, or that the algorithm targets you for staying too long, do not engage in this field. You need to secure a win within your predefined limits. And to extract that win, you must invest the necessary time and patience. Because no entity is waiting to simply hand you free capital. You have to extract profits purely through your rigorous effort and analytical dedication. Right? Burn that into your memory, friend. So, I will refrain from demonstrating further variables in this session, the reason being because I was already able to provide you with a live example that perfectly validates the exact mathematical logic I explained earlier. Therefore, this is sufficient for today's session, friend. Right? We will conduct another breakdown on a live table in the future, analyzing incoming numbers in real time. As the data drops sequentially, we will decode the logic step by step. Right? I will refrain from analyzing further now, right? If I continue to speak, I will be tempted to decode every single variable I observe for you. Now the exact mathematical matrix I broke down today is executing flawlessly all across this history. Look right here. Here, now 29 and 31 have dropped, featuring that exact same mathematical gap. To my analytical eye, the 2 and 34 here mean the exact same algorithm has executed. Once you decode that logic, you will perceive it too. But it is a hidden algorithm. Right, here is a direct one. Look here. Why? Look, 32. Here is 34. And here is 32. It is highly evident. Because mathematically, if you subtract a gap of 2 from 34, it yields 32. 34 and 32 mean the logic is executing identically. Right. Do not overprocess this. Friend, if you attempt to overanalyze too many variables simultaneously, your processing capacity will overload. That is exactly why I simplified the logic for you. I demonstrated this clearly using spin history. For today, strictly program your mind with the specific data I have provided. However, bear in mind that this is not the complete matrix. There are countless other variables, and you must conduct your own independent research. Right? Study them and thoroughly backtest your findings. Backtest extensively before you ever execute a live trade. Test your data rigorously. Absorb as much knowledge as possible first. Learn the mechanics, and only then extract profits. Right? That is the optimal protocol. The fatal error is trying to extract profits before acquiring the knowledge. You will lose motivation to learn because your uneducated trades will inevitably drain your capital. Right? Therefore, prioritize learning the logic first. Right. With that, I will terminate today's session. I am confident that you have decoded a substantial amount of high-value data today. As a final directive, I reiterate, do not rely on the myth of luck. Put absolute trust in your own analytical logic. That is the single, absolute pathway to victory in this matrix. So, I sincerely wish all of you ultimate success.
REQUIEM CIPHER.